In the world of power, strength is everything. Niccolò Machiavelli, the famous thinker behind The Prince, teaches us a harsh but clear lesson. Weakness cannot be allowed to take hold. It must be dominated and crushed, or it will destroy everything a leader has built. Why is this so important? Because weakness invites danger, disrespect, and failure. It is the root of collapse in leadership, politics, and even everyday life. Imagine a basketball team where the captain is slow, unsure, and never stands up to the other team's aggressive players. What happens? The team loses respect on the court, the opponents dominate, and slowly, the whole team falls apart. The captain's weakness becomes the team's weakness. Just like that, Machiavelli says leaders must not show weakness. If they do, opponents will take advantage immediately. Weakness is not just a small problem. It is the doorway through which enemies walk in to destroy you. Why must weakness be dominated? First, because it destroys authority. People follow strong leaders who show control and confidence. If a leader is weak, people lose trust. In The Prince, Machiavelli warns that a leader who is too kind, too trusting, or too soft invites betrayal. People test limits when they see weakness. For example, think about a manager at work who never enforces rules. Employees will ignore instructions, deadlines will be missed, and the whole department will suffer. The manager's weakness leads to chaos. Real-life history gives many examples. Take Julius Caesar. When Caesar was a strong leader, his soldiers followed him anywhere. But when leaders show signs of weakness, armies crumble. The Roman Republic fell partly because weak leaders could not hold power. Machiavelli teaches us that power depends on force and respect. If you lose respect because you show weakness, you lose power. Another reason weakness must be dominated is because it invites enemies to attack. Weakness is like a crack in a wall. Enemies don't waste time. They attack where the wall is weakest. During World War II, the Nazi invasion of France succeeded because the French army was seen as weak and unprepared. This encouraged Germany to strike fast and hard. If the French leadership had dominated their weakness, trained better, shown strength, and prepared well, the attack might have been stopped. But because weakness was visible, enemies took advantage. Machiavelli also teaches that weakness damages morale. When leaders are weak, their followers feel insecure. Think about a football coach who lets players make all the decisions and never disciplines bad behavior. The players lose focus and motivation. In contrast, a strong coach who dominates weakness inspires confidence and teamwork. Weakness spreads quickly in groups. If a leader does not dominate their own weaknesses, the whole team suffers. Even in personal life, dominating weakness is crucial. If you are too passive or avoid difficult choices, others will push you around. Imagine a friend who always says yes to everything, never stands up for themselves, and lets others decide everything. That friend ends up unhappy and controlled by others. Machiavelli's lesson applies here too. You must control your weaknesses, or others will control you. Some may think that kindness or mercy are signs of strength, but Machiavelli warns that these can sometimes be weaknesses if not balanced with firmness. Leaders who are too merciful risk being seen as soft. For example, a CEO who never fires underperforming employees might seem kind, but the company will suffer because others will slack off. True strength means knowing when to be firm and when to be kind. Dominating weakness means never letting mercy become a door for failure. A modern example is Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. Jobs was known for his strong personality and high standards. He did not tolerate weakness in his team. This sometimes made him seem harsh, but it helped Apple dominate the tech world. Jobs understood that weakness inside the company or in leadership meant falling behind competitors. His drive to dominate weakness made Apple successful. Machiavelli also talks about how weakness leads to losing control over allies and friends. If a leader cannot show strength, allies may betray or abandon them. In politics, weak leaders lose alliances because others don't trust them to protect their interests. For instance, during the Cold War, countries aligned with the US or Soviet Union based on who seemed stronger. Weakness meant losing friends and support. Machiavelli's lesson: Domination of weakness is essential to keep alliances strong. Many think weakness is a sign of humanity or honesty, but in leadership, it can be deadly. Leaders must sometimes hide their fears or doubts and appear strong even when uncertain. This is not lying, but survival. A leader who openly shows fear gives the enemy an advantage. In The Prince, Machiavelli advises that leaders must act with courage and decisiveness, because hesitation is a form of weakness that costs power. In business, CEOs who hesitate or show uncertainty often lose investor confidence. Companies with weak leadership lose value quickly. Consider what happened to companies like Blockbuster or Kodak. Their leaders failed to dominate weakness. They hesitated, delayed decisions, and lost market control to stronger competitors like Netflix and digital cameras. Weakness, when not dominated, leads to failure. Machiavelli's idea is tough but clear. Weakness invites disaster. Whether you lead a country, a team, or your own life, dominating weakness is the key to survival and success. If you do not, others will dominate you. This is why every leader must learn to recognize and crush weakness before it grows. This does not mean being cruel or unfair all the time. It means being firm and clear, setting rules and acting decisively. It means understanding your own limits and working hard to overcome them. Everyone has weaknesses, but not everyone fights them. Those who dominate their weaknesses become strong leaders, respected and feared by others. To dominate weakness, one must first know where it lies. Self-awareness is important. A leader who ignores their flaws will see them exploited by others. For example, a politician who fails to control personal scandals weakens their position and gives opponents ammunition. Machiavelli teaches leaders to control not only their public actions, but also their private behavior to avoid showing weakness. History is full of leaders who failed because they did not dominate weakness. King Louis XVI of France was indecisive and weak in the face of the revolution. His failure to act firmly led to the fall of the monarchy and his own execution. The lesson is clear. Weakness allowed enemies and rebels to rise and take power. In contrast, strong leaders like Winston Churchill during World War II dominated weakness even in the darkest hours. Churchill's confidence and firmness kept Britain united against Nazi Germany. He inspired courage by showing no sign of weakness, even when the situation was dire. Machiavelli's advice is often misunderstood as promoting cruelty or evil, but really it is about survival. Weakness is a threat, and dominating it is necessary to protect what you have built. Whether you lead a country, company, or family, you cannot afford to show weakness if you want to keep control. Every day, small examples prove this truth. If you don't fix a small problem quickly, it grows bigger. If you ignore weakness in your relationships, it leads to bigger conflicts. If you don't stand up for yourself at work, you lose respect. The principle is always the same. Weakness left uncontrolled grows into defeat. In the end, dominating weakness means being strong in mind, body, and spirit. It means acting with purpose and not allowing fear or doubt to control you. Machiavelli's The Prince is a guide for anyone who wants to hold power and avoid ruin. The key message is simple but powerful. Weakness is the enemy, and it must be dominated to survive and succeed. Many today might find Machiavelli's lessons harsh, but history and everyday life prove him right again and again. Weakness invites trouble. It creates opportunities for others to take what you have worked for. That's why dominating weakness is not just for kings or politicians. It is for anyone who wants to protect their goals and values. Think about someone running a small business. If the owner is weak and indecisive, competitors will take customers, employees will lose respect, and the business may fail. But if the owner dominates weakness, makes tough decisions, holds firm on rules, and acts with confidence, the business can survive challenges and grow. In personal relationships, the same idea applies. If a person is weak, always afraid to express needs or boundaries, they risk being treated unfairly or walked over. But by dominating their weakness, learning to say no, standing up for themselves, they build healthier, stronger relationships. In sports, coaches and players who dominate weakness perform better. A player who is afraid of losing or afraid to confront challenges often fails. But a player who faces fears head-on, trains hard and refuses to give in, dominates weakness and wins more games. Machiavelli's lesson, then, is a universal truth. Weakness, left unchecked, destroys. To succeed in any area, you must face your weaknesses, control them, and never let them control you. The price of weakness is high: loss of respect, loss of power, loss of success. It's also important to understand that dominating weakness is not about never showing vulnerability or asking for help. Even strong leaders need support and advice. The difference is that they do not allow their weaknesses to be seen as invitations for attack or disrespect. They work quietly on their weaknesses, but show strength publicly. This careful balance is the art of leadership Machiavelli describes, knowing when to be firm, when to be flexible, and always keeping control. It means preparing for danger before it comes, and never letting your guard down. Take a famous example: Nelson Mandela. Mandela was strong because he dominated his weaknesses. He spent years in prison but never showed weakness to his oppressors. Instead, he prepared himself mentally and physically for leadership. When released, he showed strength and forgiveness, but never allowed weakness to ruin his power or vision. His leadership united South Africa. Machiavelli would approve of Mandela's strategy. Dominance over weakness does not mean cruelty. It means control and strength used wisely. At the same time, Machiavelli warns against false strength. Pretending to be strong while hiding deep weakness can be dangerous. If others discover the truth, the leader loses trust completely. Real strength comes from mastering your weaknesses, not hiding them. For example, a company that promises great service but delivers poor quality will lose customers once the truth is revealed. The company's weakness in quality control must be fixed or dominated. In conclusion, the Prince teaches a timeless truth. Weakness is the greatest threat to power, success, and survival. Weakness must be dominated at all costs because it invites disrespect, enemies, failure, and collapse. Whether in politics, business, sports, or personal life, those who learn to dominate their weaknesses hold the power to shape their destiny. Those who do not lose it. This is why Machiavelli's lesson remains relevant today. Strength, decisiveness, and control are not just about winning battles or gaining power. They are about staying alive, respected, and successful in a world where weakness is the door to defeat. Seek wisdom.